All right, welcome back to Transform Kenya Forum, and we're talking about manufacturing. Somebody's wondering, why is Noah freezing a little bit? It's because of the discussion we've just had right here. And, you know, the big boys have been told that we are not caring too much about the small manufacturers. When we have conversations around manufacturing, we're always thinking about big manufacturers. And you know, you wanted a right of response.
Yes.
Prof, please.
Yeah, so first of all, let me start with the big boy, but also the big girl. Because I've done some work for people who produce some things like even alcohol in Thika and the rest. I understand what happens there. If I was given a chance to set up the fiscal policy and economic policy for this country, I'll do something very controversial. I will pick all those people who are being arrested in industrial area, Thika, all these light industries, and put them in a room and tell them, if someone can counterfeit Johnny Walker and produce, in fact, when you test the content of Johnny Walker original and the counterfeit is exactly the same. You get drunk at the same rate and everything else. They must be brilliant. What I'll do is, how can we help them to market their own brand and leave Johnny Walker alone and start producers? That's how you support them. China does something we call copy shamelessly. There's a book I've written, What Has Made China. Chinese will copy Google word for word and manufacture for you Google within China. And they call it google.cn. So they can actually produce an equivalent of Google. And the Chinese authorities do not have problems with them. In Kenya here, you'll see a Kenyan arresting a Kenyan for copying Google. Microsoft, they write that whole thing. I'm not saying that we go against copyright, but Chinese economy has grown by copying. If you cannot beat Google, copy Google. For us, we want to innovate something new, and we have never innovated something new, so it becomes too expensive for everybody. And I can tell you, if someone can copy Dasani water, they can produce their own water, isn't it? Only that they're riding on the brand Dasani. How can we help them market their own brand and produce water and don't copy Dasani? Okay. Because they know what's called water making process, like my brother here saying. So that's incentive. I can go to Kibera, pick women group and tell them, produce your own water, supply to State House for 3 months. Then after that, the brand will be known. And what is happening, why are we copying Dasani? Because Dasani is a known brand. So why is Dasani important? It's just a brand name. How can we promote our own local brands? For me, it's easy mathematics.
Okay.
And the other thing, when you talk about the issue of the GDP thing that you are talking about, Dr. Shem, manufacturing is growing for sure. But the GDP is growing at 5 or sometimes 6%, 7%. So if manufacturing is growing at a proportional level, I know GDP is much bigger, you might find that the GDP is growing in totality, nominal GDP is growing faster than actually manufacturing, and some sectors are contributing more than this sector. That I was trying to ask you, as an economist, if we understand why is financial services sector growing faster than manufacturing, then we can find, are there some common denominators upon which manufacturing is not enjoying? And then I can tell you also as an economist, every economy prefers to grow more manufacturing than for services, and for a reason that they are more stable. In financial services sector, though they can contribute, services sector can contribute more to GDP, they are more volatile. Okay. For example, you saw in the US, the subprime lending in the US was that we had the financial services sector, insurance sector, that were volatile. When they collapse, the economy collapses much faster when it depends bigger on financial, in services sector. Germany, during the global financial crisis, were least affected because they depended more on manufacturing. Okay. Spain, Greece, Italy, and Portugal were more services sector, so they responded to the shock much faster, and they couldn't absorb it until they almost collapsed. Okay. They need to be supported. So we, as an economist, we promote manufacturing more because it's more stable.
Okay.
Services sector, they can grow quickly, but they are more volatile. For example, if 10 banks go down in Kenya and they contribute 3% to GDP, it goes away like overnight, like whoosh. But you see, if people are producing water, it will absorb the shock more slowly. And maybe just to tell people in Kenya about the issue of manufacturing, The main challenge we are having here is that we do not have a stable fiscal and monetary policy, and there's no predictability.
Okay.
Therefore, the investors, like for example, Shem, they read the front of the newspaper today, that tax. Tomorrow, the other tax. And the other day, somebody is being arrested. The other day, this sector should be closed. The other day, these people are disrupting the China Square. Tomorrow, so the instability and lack of predictability is great. And I can quote one economist who is a border, who told the president, Mr. President, just add fuel to 500 shillings, then let us know who is dying and who is staying. That border for me is the smartest economist I've ever listened to. Without having economy, he understands that if we keep things stable and predictable, the economy will grow and there will be more confidence in the economy than if it is very unstable and it cannot be predictable.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Anthony, you also wanted a right of response because I saw the way you were listening to the issue of when we discuss manufacturing, we are not looking at the smallest player in the value chain and in the sector. Do you think that's the reality in Kenya as experienced by an investor like Doc here?
So thanks, there's a danger, of sitting the professor and the doctor, in a conversation.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want us to narrow this conversation to big versus small. That is not the conversation. There is no manufacturing without the big, the medium, the small, the medium, and the artisan, who is, I guess, the person who is doing bids. All of them are manufacturing. I represent 1,300 active members of my association, Kenya Association of Manufacturers. 52% of these members are actually SMEs. All right?
Yes.
The contrary to the common belief. Of course, there are big companies, there are small companies, there are medium companies, there are very, very small, there are startups who join us, and they pay the minimum, So that is not the conversation. The conversation we're talking about is where we are as a manufacturing sector, and the topic, transform Kenya. Can we transform Kenya using manufacturing?
Definitely.
And I've just given you the numbers that at 7.8%, we have the highest number of wage employment from the public sector, right?
Yes.
If you go to each and every village, whether it is Siopot, Lunga Lunga, the border with Tanzania, you go to Garissa, you go to Kaloko, you go to Nadapal, everywhere you'll find soap, you'll find salt, you'll find sugar. All these are manufactured goods.
Okay.
Manufactured by Kenyan manufacturers. So other than just the contribution per se on manufacturing, the impact to the distribution, retail, and wholesale, it is massive. Walk to any supermarket. Walk to Naivas, walk to Kwekwe, and then you see the goods displayed there. All those goods are manufactured. They are manufactured by big, they are manufactured by medium, by small.
Yes, definitely.
So I don't want us to get into that.
Big versus,
it's a slippery road where I would have loved to look at the opportunity as a country.
Exactly.
Right? Because we have local investors, we have international investors, we have local markets, we have international markets. How do we organize ourselves? How do we create the orgware that can make Kenya win?
Okay.
From manufacturing standpoint. Now, if we go to 20% contribution, what does that mean? If you put 7.8% here and you put 20, that is 3x growth. Extrapolate that with the metrics that I gave you. The number of jobs from 352,000 to 1 million jobs. From 360 billion to KRA, to public coffers, to over 1 trillion. If it is output from 3 trillion to about 6 trillion.
Yes.
This is big time.
Definitely.
And it is possible.
Exactly.
Right?
It is possible.
The question is, how do we create Kenya and all the players, what we are calling orgware, to deliver that?
Exactly.
And remember, it's not like we have choices not to do it. I want you to look at how many children graduate or join elementary school. Odd 1.5 million kids. How many kids write their KCPE? 900 something. You shared almost 500,000. Those 500,000, because I don't believe our mortality rate is that high, they join the job market. Where they join the job market at class 1, class 5, class 3, but they don't write KCPE. How many people write KCSE? Odd 600 and 700,000. You shed another 200,000. They join the job market. How many people go to tertiary schools and tertiary universities and colleges? 100, maybe 250,000. You shed another 400,000. They have joined the job market. How many people? So you can see the pipeline.
Yes.
Of kids joining the job market. At every, the pipeline is leaking.
Okay.
And then you go 10 years back. We have to get to a point where we say we are sitting on pins.
Okay.
We are sitting on bombs.
All right.
How do we make sure we create jobs for these children?
All right. Definitely. And Dr. Shem, I know you want to give a response, but at this particular moment, I'd like us to take a look. Maybe we can get some insights in regards to this issue of where we are and how competitive the industry is, and some of the solutions that we'll discuss here.